Welcome to the deep dive. Ever stop and think about how different realities can be, even for people from the same place?
Definitely.
Well, today we're looking at two stories out of Brazil that they really make you think. First up, we've got actress Gabriella Saraivah and her mother. They've been really open about, well, the tough side of being immigrants in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of the opposite situation, we have Bráulio Bessa. He's a really well-known writer there.
Very well known.
And he hit the headlines for turning down a huge amount of money. Publicly said it wasn't ethical.
Yeah, 1 million reais. It's a lot.
So what's the link? How do these connect? That's what we're going to dive into today, see what we can learn.
It's a really interesting contrast, isn't it? On one side, you have this story about the often hidden struggles of trying to make it in a new country.
Right.
You know, running up against some pretty harsh realities.
Right.
And on the other, a very clear-cut choice,
Right.
based purely on personal values when facing, like you said, a big financial temptation.
Exactly. So let's start with Gabriella Saraivah and her mom. They moved from Brazil to the U.S. And recently they shared this video. Pretty raw stuff, actually, about the difficulties they faced.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriella said something like, her mother's working just incredibly hard. All the money goes straight to basics. Rent, food.
Just surviving, basically.
Pretty much. And they can't afford health insurance. She actually said it was muito caro, very expensive. Paints a really tough picture.
It does. And what's kind of fascinating, or maybe revealing, is the reaction from some people. We looked at this one video host.
Oh, yeah?
And he pointed out that, well, their description, long hours, money just vanishing on essentials, no health care. Sadly, that sounds like the reality for a lot of people in Brazil, too.
It's a fair point.
So it raises this big question, right? Gabrielle was acting. Her mom had a business background. They seemed okay in Brazil. So why move? What was the real driver behind heading to the U.S.?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe the million-real question here.
Yeah.
Gabriella talked about this feeling of, starting completely from scratch in the U.S.
Yeah.
And she mentioned the pressure, people back home asking, when are you coming back for the Dylan Novelas?
Ah, the expectations.
Right. And she was clear. She said, look, I wasn't like a massive bam, bam, bam star, but I was working consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And her mother's story. Wow. That's quite a shift from business admin and managing her daughter's career to working as a nanny in the States.
Wow. That's kind of career change. It's a really common thing for skilled immigrants, unfortunately. Your qualifications, your experience, they don't always, just transfer smoothly across borders.
Right. Different systems, different requirements.
Exactly. So people end up taking jobs that maybe aren't using their full skills, jobs they wouldn't have considered back home. And the emotional side of that, it can be really tough. Like we heard from the mother, feeling like giving up, her self-esteem just tanking.
Absolutely. She even talked about specific times kids she was looking after mistreating her. Is just awful to imagine.
Horrible.
And Gabriella said seeing her mom so unhappy, so overworked, that was a huge reason she actually thought about packing it all in, just giving up on the whole U.S. thing.
Understandable.
The video host we mentioned, he kept hammering this point.
Yeah.
Kept asking, okay, if things were decent in Brazil, what was the dream? What was the reason you came here only to face all this hardship?
It does make you wonder about the gap between the idea and the reality.
Totally.
And the specific examples they gave really bring it home, don't they? Not being able to afford health insurance. That muito caro comment, that's a huge source of anxiety for so many people in the U.S.
Oh, definitely.
And that story about their friend, an $8,000 ambulance bill.
Yeah, $8,000.
That just shows you the kind of financial cliff people can fall off if they get sick. It's terrifying.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then there are the sort of everyday grind things, too.
Yeah.
Like the mom trying to talk to her son's school using Google Translate on patchy Wi-Fi.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It just highlights how hard it is just navigating basic stuff,
Yeah.
Language barriers, tech issues, understanding the system.
And Gabrielle's experience in high school, too, that points to the other challenges, the ones that aren't just about money or logistics.
You mean the social side?
Yeah, exactly. Feeling lonely even when she's around people. It says a lot about cultural differences and how people connect.
Right. She wanted friends to, make TikTok videos with. Just hang out.
Uh-huh.
And her American classmate was just super focused on studying, getting ahead, different priorities.
Totally different vibe. Gabriella described Brazilians as more intense, valuing that physical closeness in friendships, moving somewhere that doesn't work the same way. That's a big adjustment emotionally.
Yeah, definitely. And she also mentioned the pressure. Like in the U.S., kids feel this pressure to have their whole future planned out for college.
Right. Map it all out.
Whereas she felt in Brazil, it was more, I don't know, let life take me sort of thing. Less rigid, maybe.
Another big cultural contrast that can add stress when you're trying to adapt.
So, okay, let's talk about that video host again.
Oh.
His commentary on their story was, well, it was something. Pretty pointed.
Yeah, his sarcasm was definitely a choice. It gives you a window into one particular reaction to their story, I guess.
He kept asking, almost joking, if they were sure they were in the U.S.
Because their struggles sounded so much like Brazil.
Exactly. And he was really direct, asking why Gabriella, who supposedly had it pretty good as an actress, would choose to passar perrengue, go through hardship like this.
Right. Questioning the logic of the move itself. It gets to the heart of the skepticism some people might feel about these kinds of stories.
Totally. And the sarcasm didn't stop there. He was like, oh, if it's so bad, why not just go back to Brazil?
The classic line.
And then he paints this picture of Brazil as like this economic paradise where everything's great for everyone, clearly sarcastic.
Yeah, using irony to question their decision to stay. Maybe showing frustration that they're painting the U.S. in a negative light after choosing to come here.
His comments on the healthcare thing were sharp, too.
How so?
Sort of sarcastically praising Brazil's public system, the SUS. Joking about how, oh yeah, everyone gets the same tests as the president.
Highlighting the trade-offs, maybe. Different systems, different problems.
Could be. And he just kept coming back to it. Why stay if it's so hard?
Right.
He even compared them to people who get deported and then complain about the U.S., even though they fought so hard to get in.
Oh, that's a loaded comparison.
Yeah. So his final take on their story really just underlined his confusion. He kind of acknowledged the mother's hard work, the sacrifice, but ultimately, he was just like, I still don't get why they're sticking it out. Leaves you with a pretty critical view of their choice.
Okay. So quite a reaction there.
Definitely. Now let's pivot. Completely different vibe. Bráulio Bessa's refusal.
Yeah, totally different situation. Bráulio Bessa, hugely respected writer, poet, cultural figure in Brazil. And he came out publicly saying he turned down an offer. 1 million reais.
1 million reais. That's serious money. What was the offer for?
To promote some kind of online game, a tiger game, apparently.
Yeah.
Often associated with, online gambling, potentially addictive stuff.
Ah, okay. So what was his reason for saying no?
He laid it out very clearly. He basically said, look, refusing money that comes from what he saw as exploiting people or profiting from their potential misery, that's not heroism. That's just decency.
Yeah.
Basic human decency.
Wow. Okay.
And he really pushed this point, this kind of ethical line. That should be the minimum we expect. It shouldn't be something we celebrate like it's extraordinary.
That's interesting.
Yeah, he even said he felt a bit weird seeing other influencers making a big deal about their refusals of similar offers. Like, why are we treating the absolute baseline as if it's the peak of morality?
That's a really powerful point he's making there. He's saying honesty, having a conscience, that shouldn't be news. That should just be normal, expected.
Exactly right. And he also talked about focusing not on what you lose financially by saying no.
Right, the million reasons.
But on what you gain, your integrity, peace of mind, things like that.
Important stuff.
And he was clear this wasn't about following some trend of influencers saying no. His decision came from his upbringing, values learned at home, school, just from ordinary people.
So grounded in his own principles.
Completely.
Okay, so back to the video host. What did he make of Bráulio Bessa's stance? He seemed to have opinions on everything.
Sleek chuckle. He certainly did.
Yeah.
His take on Bessa was, again, pretty sarcastic. He kind of boiled it down to, okay, so he talked and talked and talked just to say he refused $1 million like everyone else seems to be doing now. But, maybe phrased it a bit differently.
Oh, bit dismissive.
A bit. But interestingly, he did kind of agree with Bessa on one point.
Which one?
That the fact we are making such a big deal about someone refusing money for ethical reasons, maybe that shows how low our standards have slipped.
An unexpected point of agreement there.
Yeah. Though he quickly added that he still found the first story, Gabriella's story, more interesting.
And his final word on Bessa.
He just kind of moved on, wished Gabriella and her mom good luck again.
Right.
Reiterated his point that, life's hard everywhere, and then threw in another sarcastic comment about them maybe being better off going back to Brazil with its supposed booming economy.
Still pushing that same button?
Seems like it. His main focus really stayed on his skepticism about Gabriella's and her mother's choices.
Okay, so let's try and weave these threads together now. We've got Gabriella and her mom facing really tough, unexpected challenges as immigrants, a reality that definitely clashes with the shiny American dream idea sometimes.
Right, a reality check.
And then you have Bráulio Bessa making a very deliberate, very public ethical stand, turning down big money.
Exactly. And thinking about this from the listener's point of view, maybe you've thought about moving abroad, or you know someone who has, or maybe you just face your own ethical choices day to day. Both stories really give you something to chew on, don't they?
They do.
They make you think about why people share these experiences publicly. What are the motivations? And what drives these big life decisions?
And it pushes you to ask, what actually is a better life?
Yeah.
Is it just money, opportunity, something else? And how do our values guide us when we're chasing it?
For sure. And it's also interesting to think about the commentary, like that video host's sarcasm. How does that work? Is it just criticism, or is it a way to maybe poke holes in narratives people present?
It's complex.
It really is. Because better life means different things to different people, right? The reasons people move, the sacrifices they make, it's rarely simple. And Bessa's story makes you think about, well, what is being promoted out there? And what are the ethics of making money from things that might actually harm people?
Good point. So wrapping up this deep dive, we've explored the unexpected difficulties Gabriella Saraivah and her mother encountered in the U.S., a real counter-narrative to some common ideas about immigration. And we looked at Bráulio Bessa's very principled refusal of that huge offer, which kind of underscores the importance of individual ethics, even today.
Right. And maybe it leaves us and leaves you with a final thought to mull over. Are our ideas about other places, other people's lives, maybe a bit too simple sometimes? What kind of unseen struggles are hiding beneath the surface of journeys that look from the outside maybe glamorous or aspirational?
Yep.
And what does it really say about where we are as a society when someone's simply doing the decent thing, like Bessa refusing that offer, when that becomes major news?
Lots to think about there. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.